Welcome back to Boss and Cage Podcast. So today's show, I always say it's going to be interesting, but I think it's going to be very highly interesting. And I think this is one of the episodes that if you don't have pen and paper, I'm going to give you a couple seconds to go get some pen and paper because we're going to drop some information on here. This individual that we're interviewing, I'm going to deem him the refocused boss and I would say for obvious reasons, but it only makes sense. It's kind of like when you hear his story about the way he grew up and the environment he grew up in. He kind of grew up in an entrepreneurial household to a certain extent, and then he took this different information and he built it, and he was like, oh, look at this opportunity, oh, supply and demand, and he kind of added on, and then he ended up with agency. So we're going to talk about how do you go from essentially selling chocolate to then becoming like this international agency that kind of specializes in a particular market sector. So Raman, why don't you tell our audience a little bit more about who you are and what we're talking about?
Sure. Well, firstly, thanks very much for having me on the show. You do a great job interviewing your guests, so it's an honor for me to be here with you today. So, yeah, for background, my name's Raman Segal, and I wear a few different hats, but my main hat is I am the founder of a business called Remarketing, and we're a kind of full service marketing agency that you would expect, but we absolutely specialize in the pharmaceutical and biopharma supply chain, which makes us not just a niche agency, but a really super niche agency. So we're about 65 people now across Europe and the US. And so, yeah, pretty fast growing organization. Just actually a few months ago, we received a private equity investment, which is quite unusual in the marketing agency space, which was a big moment for me personally in my journey as an entrepreneur, and that kind of felt like a success milestone, but also a kind of the start of a new kind of era and step up for where we're taking the organization.